Welcome everyone to the Game Dev Discussion Podcast. This week, we've got the senior lighting artist at Chinese Room, Ellen Shelley. How's it going? How you been? Is everything okay with COVID?
Hello. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Me and my lounge are best friends now.
How have you found it?
Just chilling out in here. Well, it's lonely, I'll have to admit. Like, as much as I love people on Twitter, the reason I joined like a studio was for like, you know, collaborating like in person with other like game devs and stuff. But it's a bit, yeah. And for someone who hasn't really freelanced before, it was a bit like a learning curve in terms of this stuff.
So have you hung around in Discord much? Because I know that's how I've like countered this off. Because I feel the same. Like I'm a very sociable person. So being in Discord, like hanging out with a bunch of friends helps a little bit.
And I've been on Discord and stuff like that can really help, and like talking and things. But yeah, sometimes you just want a pint. Just want to go out in real life and have a pint.
I think the last time I had a drink was
Virtual pint.
Meetup. Oh, have you seen the drinking sessions people do where they have like their colleagues get on a Zoom call, they play drinking games and stuff, and I'm watching them like, I can't do that. I can't drink in my house. I need to go out and drink.
I know. Something's going to get broken.
I think every time I've drink with my colleagues, it's either gets rowdy or something. So like I can imagine if I do it in my own house. I think the closest I've had is I did a podcast for Experience Points, and we had my whiskey. Everyone was drinking whiskey, so I was like, okay, I'll drink this along with you guys. Even then, that felt weird. It was really odd. I was like, this is not used to drinking in my house.
Under that desk, just like different types of alcohol. Like,
I've got another one. My brother bought me another one. I've not brought it in here, but yeah, I'm going to keep them all by my desk or put them up on my shelf. Anyway, actually, what if I just is curious question? How have you found like the blend for professional work and personal work? I know it's something that's come up with a few people, and I've heard different answers from different people. So how have you found like that relationship?
I'd say more difficult because obviously like I'm an introvert and extrovert, so like sitting all day like in my lounge where essentially I would have done all my personal work. It like I want to break at the end. Like I just need to get up. I need to get away from the computer. So I think it's like slowed down quite a bit in terms of that. And on the weekend and stuff, like obviously like I'm in my house most of the time. Like I want to go outside. So it's definitely been reduced in terms of that. I don't know, go outside, shout at something or
Well, this is what I'm curious to talk to you about. So you're obviously a senior lighting artist. Before we get into all the sort of lighting art side of stuff, there's a conversation I think I want to pick back up, which is the education side of stuff. And I've spoken to previous artists about, you know, is higher education necessary? And for environment art, my answer tends to be no, because so much resources available online. It's quite it's a practitioner skill. It's, you know, you just get used to building level art and compositions and all this kind of stuff. Lighting art, I'm a little bit more tentative to say because there's a lot of technicalities to it, which I don't think people have really appreciated for lighting art. So I think it's probably better. I want to start with there is, how have you found like learning lighting? What's your learning experience being for lighting art?
So I never went down the university route. I was like self-taught, but I started as an environment artist. So I would personally say like you can go directly into lighting art, but me personally, I found having that grounding of having a knowledge of shaders, like how to construct environments, how that kind of stuff works is massively beneficial to lighting, because a lot of it isn't just lights. It derives from like the shaders and optimization, and just knowing the kind of pitfalls from that. And also the fact that when you talk to other environment artists and level designers and things, it can help you be a better lighter in terms of that. I would say that there is so much online. The fact that that's essentially where I learned everything. And it is very, very helpful to have a lot of people. I would say the good thing about university as a sort of initial starting point is you do have a lot of connections. You are with a lot of people who are going to motivate you and stuff, and push you in the right direction. I think then I'd say now there's more, not only just stuff online, but there's slightly better community in terms of
Yes.
help in that respect. Like before, when I first started, it was just I felt quite isolated. I had one or two friends who were in industry, and that was about it, really, in terms of that. There wasn't much like, again, like women in game stuff. There wasn't any of this stuff. Like it was just me wanting to make some games and just badgering my friends on Facebook Messenger. There was nothing like community-wise. But now I'd say I would push people more towards learning the grounding before they go straight into lighting. Like I would say learn some of the fundamentals about game dev in terms of that. Like learn how environments are constructed, and not like massively in depth, just enough so that if you do need to optimize like a level, you can kind of have a look at you just know some sort of triggers and stuff. You know what's kind of happening there. Like say your frame rate's completely dropped, you might start to realize what's actually going on if you've got more of a grounding in that side of it. I'd say again, it really depends on how you're going to work. Like for me, I've always kind of steered away from university. Like I was really keen to just start working and kind of get away from school, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So that was what kind of stopped me. There are still definite like pros and cons. Like again, with uni, you have like people there directly with you. But then again, with modern times, you have this online. You have communities, you have mentorships, you have online help and things. It really depends. I think the other thing that put me off uni was just how expensive it was. I think the time I went to uni, I think it was like, don't quote me on this, it was like $9,000 or something like that, like a year. Same. And I couldn't justify it. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, my stance on universities has changed though, because it's like I used to say, don't go uni, don't go uni, don't go uni, because like I said, you can learn everything online. All this learning resources available online. The only thing I would say, and it's only been from talking to students coming out of uni, is I suppose there's the benefit of uni, which isn't unique to game dev, but like getting away from your home, I guess. Like you have to be at least a semi-adult. You're not a full adult because your student loans to pay for a lot of your stuff and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, taking the game dev side of it out of it, like the actual education, your hard skills you're not going to learn in uni. Like I haven't seen a uni yet that actually teaches good hard skills. In the UK anyway, I think Scandinavia is better. But yeah, I'm kind of like, go to uni for the right reasons is more the thing.
I would say too, the other one for me is definitely research your uni.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how you can justify that price if some of the lecturers have never been in industry. That was the one thing that kind of tripped me up. Like I know it sounds really like the fact that I'm paying this huge amount of money. I'm essentially paying for your experience. I want you to tell me the pitfalls of the industry. Again, but there are some really good unis that do have that, who do have people that are still involved in industry and things. It's not saying that all universities are like this, not at all. It's just do some research. I ask them like where they've come from, like, you know, what was their like last company they worked at. This stuff is definitely beneficial, because at the end of the day, that's the kind of stuff that I would be wanting to pay for. It's their experience thing, as well as all of the stuff that you can learn online.
One thing which is quite interesting, you mentioned it previously about, you know, having a grounding in game dev. Something I found recently is, you know what it's like when artists and designers don't get along. They're like cat and dog. You know, designers want one thing, the artist wants another. I have found, and I suppose there's a similar relationship, I guess, with environment and lighting, because they're both trying to achieve their own goals, but really the goal is somewhere in the middle. I have found working with design a lot better for not just environment but lighting, because like your lighting basically determines attention. Like you can have all the environment out, you can have the most noisy environment ever. The lighting will determine your attention. So I have found like designers be like, okay, this is really important. I need to showcase this. Okay, as a lighting artist, I like to make sure that's showcased then. And I think that gets overlooked sometimes. People sort of go for big, pretty compositions and lighting and colour palettes without actually considering where the eye is being drawn. Yeah. And that's one thing I like about your portfolio pieces, all your lighting portfolio pieces, like you are led through the level, like there's points of interest which you're purposely sort of crafted. Did that come from just trial and error, like, or was there anything online that could help you learn that stuff?
I came like the first before I even got anywhere near game dev, I was doing like painting essentially, like
Hmm.
compositional stuff and photography. Like I were my big things I wanted to do. Photography now just a hobby, like kind of thing. That really always helped with the composition, like in terms of just like framing a scene kind of thing. And I think as I moved into sort of into lighting and into game dev, it did really help. Like essentially, it's still framing the scene for the player as well as just for
Hmm.
looking pretty. Like, and again, there's so much that kind of can be taken from traditional art into lighting, such as like values and even shadow, for example. Like it's not even the light sometimes that is important; it's the shadows, it's the lack of light for things. And yeah, having worked on horror games, I can tell you it's definitely like a fine line between I cannot see and
Yeah.
this is brilliant. Um, yeah, so all this stuff does definitely help with a kind of grounding for lighting. Just things I've picked up throughout the years definitely help
One
lead a
there's
player and things.
one thing that's kind of interesting is again it's coming back to something you mentioned earlier about having a grounding in environment art. I just want to sort of turn the conversation to mega scans.
Yeah.
I'm constantly wavering on like how good, how bad, all this kind of stuff. Because there's people who say it's bad because obviously you need to learn these skills of creating props and this is really important. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, it is. However, I've done it. So I've done a piece myself, a lighting study where I only use megascans because I didn't want to have to waste my time with like making all the props and stuff because I've got examples of making them. But I have started seeing a lot of lighting studies come out where people are like, okay, I'm only focusing on my compositional skills and my like really advanced lighting skills, and I'm only using megascans. I've really loved it. I've been seeing some really. Patrick Ziegler did a really nice kind of cathedral window piece, and it's only using megascans and it's focusing on lighting and composition. And I'm like, this is great to see. Like people are able to show off their lighting skills without being worried, without being let down by their like asset skills as a lighting artist, if like what's your general thoughts on that as an idea? Like, is it good? Is it bad? Is there stuff as like pitfalls people might miss out on?
I think it is really good in terms of like because obviously I used to make environments from scratch and it takes a long time. Sometimes I used to almost feel like I was kind of rushing the environment to just get to the lighting, which it can be so much more beneficial if you have got all this stuff here and if you just want to practice. If this is literally a thing you want to practice, you don't have to do the rest. Like you can just focus on that. I think there is like a balance though between it. Like yes, I love environments all made out of mega scans, but I also wouldn't want people to not learn the rest, if you know what I mean. Like I still would want to see. I'm not saying like they have to make absolutely everything. Like I just still feel like it would be so beneficial to know the pipeline a little bit in terms of environment.
Mm.
Again, in a lot of this stuff in Mexican is all pre-made. Like you still need to know shaders, you still need to know PBR, this kind of stuff. Like again, but you could probably like replace things. I think it is an amazing tool though in terms of like if you want to quickly like practice. It's making a whole environment is not a quick thing. It's a very
It's,
long thing.
it's actually funny you mention. I guess the fact that actually you can talk to this a little bit. As I know for me as an environment artist, I've had to pick up some material like asset work. I've had to pick up some lighting work, and it's meant that I needed to know how to make assets. I've had to know how to set dress, and I've had to know how to light. As a lighting, because the more people I speak to, the more I'm starting to think being a one. Okay, I am a lighting artist. I do not make props. I do not make environments. I'm like, how often really in production do you get to say, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm only doing lighting. Like, I imagine you as a lighting guy decided to do plenty of level art, plenty of product, like sort of more asset work, just because manpower. You say for I know I spoke to a few material artists at 343. It's like we don't just make materials all day, like and tilables. Like sometimes we have to retexture props because there's only so many tilables to make in a game. There's only so many scenes to light. Have you experienced that too?
Well, for my last job, I was an environment artist and I was also lighting. I was doing both essentially. Because that's just what you have to do sometimes
Mm.
in a production. There are still always times in lighting you'll have to load up a prop and fix it sometimes. Like if the like the maps are wrong, or the resolution's wrong, or it's not quite working, or not even like the practical stuff. Like there's a lot of sort of planning as well that goes with lighting. Like you have to often talk to everyone, like in terms before you even do the lighting. It's the final part, it's the final thing. They have to talk to the art directors, you have to talk to level design. It's everyone is involved. It's never just right, okay, I'm going to put the directional in, now I'm done. Like it's the whole process, like with it all.
Actually,
so not
sorry,
always.
there's something you did just touch on, and it's something I say to my mentees. I'm like, learn, do a lighting pass, and like don't ignore it, because I learned this with Safe House with the scene I did is like really good lighting can make the most crappiest props look pretty good. And in the same token, and this happened on Safe House, a really good prop could be made to look very bad with like bad lighting. And I experienced this unfortunately firsthand, and I had to have like a couple of friends there, Jay and a few others in Discord and the Dynasty Empire. I'd be like, that light is not looking so good. I mean, what's going on with that prop there? Like your normals look ruined. I'm like, no, the normals are fine. Opened it up in the like preview editor. Oh no, normals are fine. Okay, well, what are you doing your lighting to make it look like that? And it's like, oh shit, I didn't do that. So there's almost like a pressure to it, isn't there? Because it's like, it will, I guess it's the ultimate definition of quality. You'll either ruin a scene or you'll make it look amazing. And it's a lot of pressure on someone's shoulders, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, and I think weave and light it, it's good to maybe do some like studies before, and not just, rarely do I ever just run in like light it. I always have a conversation beforehand. Like it takes time. It still takes time to light. So it's just, you want to have, get a load of references up. So beneficial before you go in and do this kind of stuff, and if it works or not. Like, do a quick kind of lock in with the lights almost to see if it works before you really kind of refine it. That can also be like even like sort of blocking in lights with not doing any sort of baking or anything, just going in with some dynamic lights and just testing stuff, just having a look, see if it works. And that's quick. Just sending back some shots and being like, are we in the right direction, before you really like refine this in. Once it's kind of refined in, it's a pain to go back and like you do all the bake or like all this kind of stuff. Obviously, I'm not saying it's not a perfect world and you don't ever have to go back, but it just helps.
We wish.
I think in the long term, I know. Done.
How much do you have to ever? How much time do you get to spend on like the post process, or like like the color grading side of stuff? Because recently I started watching tutorials on film color grading, like in After Effects or Premiere, where they're talking about how they've got like a TV series and this is how we color grade a series and this is why we color grade. And I've been watching it because basically it parallels exactly making a game environment. It's like, color compositions and like what the values you're actually tweaking are both the exact same. Your exposures, color balance, hues, all these kinds of things. So as a lighting artist, how much opportunity do you get to actually play with that sort of stuff to kind of do color grade post effects?
So basically, you can do the smallest thing to post processing and absolutely destroy your scene. It's so easy. Like you do one thing and it's done, and you're like, great, I've absolutely ruined it. Like, so I'd say before you go, subtlety is definitely key. There's so much in there. You just like, I'm going to just shove the gamma right up into the blue section. I've nailed it. Like, no, you have to be so subtle. It's like honestly like a couple of stops, even in comping. Like, it's not like, but I'd say too, like before you even go anywhere near the post processing, try and get mainly there with the lighting. Try and get like, it's a complete battle once you start battling your post and your lighting. It's a nightmare, basically. Stop. Don't battle the exposure, lighting, and post all together. Like that's why it's better to stagger them, definitely. And I'd say like that's why you do like post obviously right at the end.
Why it's called post.
It's why it's called post. That's it. I'm done. That's the end of the. We've completed it. Because you've got mainly there with the lighting first. You're literally just sort of enhancing that basically, or whether you want like stuff you can't do with lighting, like with the lens effects, and you want to kind of sort of I don't know, You can't do just relying alone. That would be great for posts, but yes, I do get to use it. It's a balance again, a subtlety to it.
Yeah, because you can have like a level where like you do like light and pass, you get to the post FX, and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna like tweak the like color range, and then you go back and tweak, because obviously then that's an adjustment on top of what you're doing. So you go back and go, okay, I'm gonna make this edge pop a little bit more. I'm gonna just play with the color. Why is this red now blue? Why is my red coming through as blue? That's really ridiculous. And then it's like, it's because you've done all this craziness in your post. It's kind of that back and forth becomes super difficult. And again, I've unfortunately learned this from experience by getting super excited by like opening up post FX after I've done one lighting pass and going to town on color grading and exposure. And then I'm like, why can't I iterate my scene? This is really weird. Everything's broken.
And you're going to try and get feedback on that, and you're like, you've done way too much in like the post. So it's not just the lighting anymore. And the fact that the post is like, obviously, unless you like put where you want the post processing to be in your game, it'll be everywhere. Like, it's not just going to be in that one like place. It's like, oh, that looks lovely there, and you go in another part of the level and it's absolutely disgusting. Like, balance, definitely.
And then you get feedback from the lighting artist, and they go, like, it's someone who actually knows what they're doing, and they go, oh, don't worry about it, it's not an issue, because all you got to do is just tweak this value in your lights, and it'll be fine. And you're like, you go back and you tweak it, you're like, oh, it isn't working. I did what the advanced guy told me to do, and he comes in, looks at your level, and he's like, why is this not work? You got a post on, haven't you? Yeah. Okay, hide that, now fix it. And it's like, oh, okay.
Definitely do the thing where, like, you know, right at the end, if you touch post, sleep on it, go to bed, have a look. Just see, turn it off. Sometimes it looks better if you turn it off, like some bits off. You're like, oh, great. Held that bit. Don't be afraid to hide stuff and see if you've actually made it better or you've completely ruined it. What was that? Say this to like students sometimes, like, how do you know when something's done? And I think there's that meme of like the Jesus painting, and someone's then like worked over the top of it.
Yeah,
it looks absolutely horrendous afterwards. I'm like, that's how you know. Like, you know, it will end up like that if you keep going.
It's funny you say, because the thing is with that is, some of my old art directors say to me is like, art's never finished, you're never going to be finished with it. But the point of it is to be aware of you have a goal. And it's like, okay, it's like someone light and say like, okay, your job, and this is where you have to talk to your designers, we need to call out this area because that's the player's path. And it's like, you light it, okay, it's clear, my eyes drawn there, and like, it's being okay. I suppose that because I get the same question, I'm like, when are you doing? It's like, when you achieved a goal, because you can never be done. You know what it's like. It's like, I can make that shadow a little bit nicer, and I can make that edge pop a little bit. You can keep noodling forever, but game devs have we have timelines, we have deadlines.
Got a whole game. Whole game. Like, you know, if it looks good, it's hitting everything you want. Like, it's hitting a tone. It's doing like the player justice. They know where to go and stuff. Move on. Like, you know. Yourself a holiday.
Holidays are bad. Holidays make me want to work more, because I end up taking a camera, or I end up like using my phone. Like on my work trips on my old studio, we used to have to do quite a lot of trips to like Malta, and I'd spend most of my time taking photos. I could do a lighting study on this. I did like material studies based on like my trips, and I ended up meaning if I went on a break, I'd come back and be like, okay, I had a break, so I need to work extra hard, which is ridiculous. And yeah, they had a counter effect on me. It's like, this made me want to work more, because you go to these amazing countries which are beautiful and inspiring and different to what you used to see, and especially with lighting as well, because like, you know, like, a different climate looks different. It has a weird feel to it.
That's why I still kind of keep photography just for me, as in terms of like, because everything else, like, it is a job essentially, and I love it, but sometimes I want to just keep something to relax with. Like, even like a little iPhone, like I just taking snapping shots just with an iPhone. Sometimes I just get, what camera did you use? And I just used an iPhone, happy iPhone. But I just like it. It's nice. I know that guilt. I know that working too hard guilt. like, you know, I'm meant to be relaxing. Your brain's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
You know what, you mentioned that actually. There's somebody who it was the hyper efficient anxiety, and I've never really associated any, you know, all this see about like mental health and anxiety. I've never really I've never
like
been
the
into connection
high functioning.
Anxiety. Where it's like you're so anxious that you have to work, and when you're not working, you're like force yourself to work because that's all that feels normal. And I saw that on Twitter once, and I was like, oh wow, okay, that I do, that I can relate to, the idea of when I'm not working, I guilt myself into working. But then you're proud of it because like you sort of, oh look, I'm working hard, this is great. And obviously it's not, it's not healthy. But I saw that on Twitter, and that's the first time I saw anything like that, and I actually went, oh, that does apply to a lot of people.
I think it's good to realise that though, because it's a cycle. It goes round and round. Like you make a really nice art piece, you're happy for it for about a day, and then it cycles again. Sometimes you just have to step back, or you do start to burn out. That's the other thing. Sometimes, like I've done the best art when I've had a break. Hard to get to the break, but when I've actually stepped back and just like back to it.
I've found it to be I do the best art when I'm in uncomfortable territory, if that makes sense. There's a period in 2018 I was learning materials, and I was like, I churned out materials like one a month. I was absolutely hammering up, and I got super burnt out because I got bored. I was like, this is boring, and this is just me going through the motions, and it didn't feel good. As soon as I got to new grounds, I started studying lighting art, started studying, using materials in clever ways. That's what I felt like I didn't get burnt out because I was constantly learning, so it didn't feel monotonous. I don't know, that's how burnout affected me that one time I had it. That was a grim time. Actually, one thing I'm curious about, there's a lighting artist, Brian Lalou, he's a rock star. And he taught me about tone mappers. And there's this whole new world of lighting art open up to me, and it's scary. How much have you dived into tone mappers? Because that's like I thought lighting art was technical anyway. Like it was super technical, like balancing all the reflections and all that kind of stuff. And then Brian comes along and introduces me to tone mappers, and I'm like, oh, okay, there's another level, there's another ceiling. Have you had a chance to dive into them much?
I've done some stuff with it. Like I've watched like some YouTube stuff on it, and like how to balance it all based on what monitors and things you're seeing it all on. But I haven't gone. I think I might have even seen. I think he did a post on it on Twitter.
Yes,
there's this whole other world. You open another box, and then here is more, and you're like, oh, great. But I've done some.
He taught me how to break lighting. So on one of my pieces, I was doing the missives, and I was like, I showed him the concept art, and I was like, I'm trying to get this. He's like, yeah, you can't do that in PBR. I'm like, oh, okay. So just to give up, he's like, no, use a tone mapper. You essentially break real world physics to achieve a look. And then I was like, oh, so we can use lighting art to achieve like them, like Stranger Things. There's some lighting scenarios where you're like, that's not how light behaves. That's not how a lamp works. That's not how glow works. And then I was like, oh, okay, so we can use lighting art to like stylize things. And suddenly the idea of like stylization or like, giving things that quote look, it all started opening up to us through tone mappers. And I don't know, that's it. It really, he showed it me, and I was like, I need to get it. I couldn't get into it. It was too complex for me. But it's like that whole world of sculpting an atmosphere, because that's where it really. Because I never really liked fog. Fog was an atmosphere to me. It was just hiding noise essentially. But seeing what he was doing with tone mappers and then drawing a connection to like how film uses them, I was like, oh, that's how films get looks. It's all with how they adjust and manipulate how light behaves, curves, levels, whatever it might be.
They break it, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Like what we are used to seeing, get that kind of weird effect, or that kind of like Stranger Things does it, and a load of other films do it, just to get that slightly off reality look to the light. Like it looks real, but there might be some bizarre bloom to everything that's just a bit weird. Like, yeah, again, a whole new world.
We're trained, like, as game artists, you have PBR shoved down your neck, so it's like physical base, has to be real, has to work in reality, and you're like, and then you then see this, like, what's the word? You know the rules so well. This is how I think of Brian. It's like he knows the physics of how it works so well that he knows how to break it to achieve looks in what is deemed an okay way. And then you're like, oh, they're always breaking it. They've always broke it. It's just I don't know it well enough to know when it's okay, because I can't just throw 50 dynamic lights into an area and hope it works. But these guys know how to do it well. And then I was like, oh, that's why they're wizards. Ah, makes sense.
Lighting wizards, that's what they call them. No, it's a whole world with that in terms of like light is a real world thing in terms of like actual physics. So if you know how light like actually absorbs into a material, and you know what value the sun is and all this kind of stuff, that you can then go and you have the knowledge to go and break these things. Yeah.
So
I've just come on this podcast to tell you all that light's a real thing. Did you know, guys?
that's the education. Yeah, that's what you pay for university for. We're gonna have Ellen Shelley, lighting artist, senior lighting artist. She's gonna come in and teach you about lighting art. Cool. First lesson. Lighting's a real thing, guys. It's a real world phenomenon.
Dangerous. Be careful.
Oh no. Pinterest is so dangerous. Oh no, sorry, no. Anyway. One other thing I wanted to touch on is ray tracing. It's quite a new thing. Everyone's talking about it for lighting. As a lighting artist, someone actually has to work with this stuff. How have you found it? 'Cause it's kind of like a buzzword at the moment. Like people say ray tracing, volumetric ray tracing, and
there's a lot of YouTube videos with it in capitals, with loads of exclamation marks.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ray tracing.
But to work with it, how have you found it? You know, what's your thoughts on ray tracing and lighting and the aesthetics?
Again, it totally depends on what project you're doing, what kind of thing you achieve, is it even beneficial to your overall look? Because it is heavy on a performance. This kind of misconception that you have to turn every single one of them on in post in order for your scene to be next gen. Next gen. No, because you're not going to be able to see anything, and you'll be like chugging along, and it'll be like a flip book rather than a game. It is still quite new tech. Like they are still alliterating on this stuff. Like you got GI, for example, like ray traced GI. Yes, it's lovely. It's mainly they've suggested you use it in because when you turn it on in a game, everything's like fuzzy. It's trying to render quickly. Then you have to kind of weigh up, like because it's new, like does it actually look better? Does it actually, if you take 2 screenshots, does it look better? Like if it doesn't and it's killing your frame rate, kill it. Like don't feel just because it's there. Again, you have to like author loads of stuff towards ray tracing, like actions and things, like the way you do your shaders. There's loads of like behind the scenes work. Don't get me wrong, there's some really, really nice things that you can do, like trace reflections are awesome. Again, if you haven't got an environment that's got loads of reflections, don't turn it on. Like, there's no point. Like, it's definitely like project related. Like, I do like the ray trace AO. Like, it is nice. Like, it does look really nice. Again, compare. Then I don't think every single light has to have ray trace shadows on. Because you got a hero prop that you really want, to have some really nice sort of transitional shadows on. Yeah, get a spotlight. Put ray tracing on it, see what it looks like. You can choose, definitely. Just go in and turn every single one of them on, just go for it, go renegade. Like
that's why now I'm like, at the beginning of every project, once I do the block out, I'll go through and press Control 1, 2, 3, 4 and pick my camera shots, because then I'm like, okay, does this need the performance hit of like, I'm actually going to see the shadows? Because I remember on a project I did that, I turned all the ray tracing on, and I was like, all of the shadows, which they could actually tell a difference on, you weren't even in the shots, or like they were so far in the background that you couldn't tell. They get lost to blur. And I was like, okay, this scene chugs like hell. Guys, why is my scene chugging like hell? And then I was screen sharing on Discord, and they're like, oh, well, hold on, go through your settings, okay. Ray tracing, okay, cool, that's probably it. Where are you using it? And I was like, that prop there. Okay. And the tree and trees, and they go, okay, well, is there a camera like around that? And I'm like, no. Okay. Why? Okay, yeah, maybe. And ever since then, it's been like, be really deliberate in everything you're doing. But what we do so personally, I don't really, at the moment, I'm kind of on the fence with ray tracing. Because I'm kind of like, when Unreal Engine has a look, like you can just tell an Unreal render.
It's the what is it? The lens flare, the ray trace lens flare. No, not ray trace. Oh, it's in my head now. It's getting in. The camera, like whenever all those like beginning projects, you just turn that on, you'd be like, look at these. The Battlefield days. To me, it's very, very unreal.
Yeah. Lens flare, post-processed blue filter, and like orange lighting, and then there's a period of our station where like that was very common.
I do like the game dev like trends. I think that was one, and the other one was like bows in games. Like every game had a bow in it. I'm like, I do like a bow though, so don't get rid of that one.
And no, the best generation was growing up the mascot generation when you had Spyro, Crash, Ratchet and Clank, Banjo and Kazooie, Jack and Daxter. Like there was just everyone wanted cute mascots, but they were like, I grew up on them. I was like, yeah, more mascots. I want to get that generation back because, well, I guess they're coming back with like remasters.
We did finally get Spyro back.
Yes.
Like here he is.
How did you find it? Did you play it? I
loved it. No, I thought it was really nice. I love that little dragon. That little dragon is why I'm in games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like one of the first games I ever played. I'm my age now. And I just loved it. I was just hooked.
Just out of curiosity, did you have a nostalgia thing where like you played the first level of Spyro 1? Oh, this is Spyro, remember this? And then you get like about 2 levels in, maybe to the ice level, and you're like, I don't remember this game being so simple. And then you play Spyro 2 and you're like, no, this is how fun I remember Spyro. It's like I had the nostalgia of Spyro 1, but I found the gameplay quite simple. But Spyro 2 I didn't have the nostalgia for, but that was the gameplay I remembered, if that makes sense.
Where parts of it that weren't the same, as in like, it's like the graphics and everything. There were some parts of it. I can't work out whether that is just because I was younger and playing it. I don't know whether... I'm an extremely good gamer.
Games are hard. No. I played in games back and like Abe's Odyssey, Crash Bandicoot. I used to blitz them games as a kid. That's the hammer on. Rayman, Metal Gear Solid. I used to do Metal Gear Solid European Extreme Mode. I play it now and I can't even do easy mode on these things. I'm like, I can't tell if it's old age or what it is, but...
Like the reviews on Crash, they were just like, too difficult. Like nothing's changed. Like it's literally like the same.
But they changed one thing, didn't they? They went from a box collision to a capsule collision, didn't they? Because that screwed me up. Because I was properly like, I made that jump. I know I made that jump. I don't know why I keep dying. And I had to Google it. And then they were like, yeah, there's capsule collision. So you had to change the way you did it. And I was like, see, it ain't me. It's the game changed. It's not my fault. I was still.
But you tell everyone. He was like, oh no, actually, this is actually why I'm terrible at Crash.
Whoa! Look. It was my wife. I was playing it because she isn't much of a gamer, but I was like, Crash Bandicoot's the best game ever. I love this kid. I played it all the time, and I was playing and I was dying on the first level, and she was like, I thought you played this game lots as a kid. I was like, I did. I promise I did. And now they're like, oh, it's pretty depressing.
One day.
So that's the trick though. You get into game dev. To get into game dev, you have to become bad at games. How many good game devs are there who are actually good at the games? I know like 2.
I once had a friend say to me like, oh, you're so lucky. I was like, why? It's like, because you get to play the game before it's out. And I'm like, I'm making the game, mate. Look.
Yeah, I play the game and test the collision and run into the walls and the stairs to make sure that my character model goes up and the camera don't bob. That's me playing the game. I don't actually swing the swords around or the guns or shoot anything. Sucks to be a game dev. Game dev problems.
Got a little game dev violins out.
So, actually, we're just speaking on the Stylized stuff. Have you done much like lighting of stylized environments? Well, you have. I know you with previous games, but like in that, how different did you find it? Apart from colours, I know colours you could be a little bit more flamboyant with, but like technicality wise, I've only done one stylized environment in lighting, and I'm like, I didn't feel too much of a difference. You do a lot more than me. How have you found that?
Kind of. I still approach it in the same kind of like you light a scene and like have steps to light a scene. And there are bits that you can change. You don't have to always do everything. For example, like if you're doing a real world scene, you'd have to have real world values. Well, not always, but you go through that. You are a bit more free to just, want this sun. Like, I know you talk about colour, but is color. Like it's
Mm.
crazy weird color. Like sometimes when you do not, I mean, most of the time you use like temperatures and stuff when you do the world things. You don't even, if you want a weird green sun, go for it. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be fully. I do quite like it in a way. Like you can have to always get stuck to these specific rules, and again, you can slightly break it with to do. And again, other things too, like sometimes like you can add light into stylized games that doesn't even have a light source. If you just want to bounce some color off something that doesn't actually have a light source to warrant it, you are more free to do this stuff. So I think sometimes with real life stuff, you sometimes do get a bit caught in a set, regimented way of doing things.
Well,
always.
It's
with stylized stuff, you can break the mold a bit more.
There's an interesting point to that though, I guess, as well, is that even in realistic games, you have to like. There's an element of stylization because I don't know about you, the real world's pretty boring. Like if you take a photograph with no post on it, nothing, and you compare it to game references, even like Last of Us, play through Last of Us, you have to push things the extra 10% further just to exaggerate the point. But that's why I love like anything interior, any like cyberpunk or interiors, because you kind of have the liberty to break things, because you can have like, I've just got a really bright pink neon light there, like that's why this room is all pink, or green or whatever the colour might be. I mean, and actually we went at the Empire meetup, we went to this bar and that says there's all cyberpunk neon lights everywhere, and I was like, I mean, I had a few too many out drinks to like appreciate it, but everyone took photos and it's like, this doesn't look real. Like it looks like a game environment. You know, when you're just slapping the missive on an object and just go, like the scene. And it's like, this isn't real life. I guess that's the fun of like that.
The other day, like I walked past a building. This is like stuff that happens when you work in game dev. I walked past a building and it looked like the worst tileable texture of my life on it. And I turned to my mate and I was just like, if we presented this, you have to redo it because it's not real enough. Like it literally looked like one tileable, like stuck on it. It's a real building.
They're the best Twitter threads. They are the best Twitter, like game dev game dev hacks. There's one when I was in Malta. There was an aircon unit opposite my hotel window, but it had there's the exact same aircon unit but double the size. I mean, it was like for like the same model, colors, branding, but it's double the size next to it. And I was just like, yeah, this guy's just copy pasted this mesh and scaled it up, and he had, you know, that's all he's done. They're the best Twitter threads out there. Is them
the ones where like when you screw up your normals.
Yeah,
thing that's like really weird.
There's one. It's a lighting one. It's basically like there was a light next to something and it's casting a shadow the wrong way, and I can't remember what it was, but I remember seeing the photo and I was like, my brain could not process what's going on.
Is it the moon landing?
That's a whole different kettle of fish.
We're not going to get that. We don't have time for that one.
But yeah, this is for me, the real world, there's so much stuff where like it's just kind of fucky. It's just they break, like there's one Josh Lynch posted recently is, you know, manholes, like the sewer drains. It's like it's meant to be one way round to line up with the, you know, the steps by a road for blind people to know when there's a road. They flipped around so like the textures didn't line up. I was looking at it like, I would get grilled for that. I'd have my art director be like, what are you doing? I'm like, but the reference said to do it like that.
We're not adding moss on everything. We're not. It's a desert. We don't need moss on this. Just keep adding moss. Every single building has to have moss on it.
You know what I hate this. That's one thing that's just kind of got me, and it's kind of happened with environments in games recently, like the Last of Us environment and stuff. They're like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Like foliage doesn't grow, trees don't grow through the road over the course of 10 years. I was like, it's full of dramatic lighting. Don't argue it. You're not arguing there's a zombie apocalypse or fungus apocalypse. Like, why are you arguing how trees grow?
The thing with what was it, like Spider-Man and Insomniac, and they're just like, the puddles have been removed inside. Could you do this to us?
These are the best things. I love seeing like all the game dev just call outs of, like, you know, just the funny little meta jokes that only we get, and then you talk to a real person and like, what are you talking about? But this is a weird thing though, isn't it? Like for us to have a conversation like this and just throw words like ray tracing and volumetric and normals, and we don't bat an eyelid. It is its own language. I find it really interesting when my partner will listen to me have a conversation, and she'll be like, "I actually didn't understand any of the words you said. Like they don't make sense." But we talk like like we're talking about the pub. Like they all the terminology we just don't think about. And I just find that amazing that you have this language.
I want to like impress your date to be like anti-aliasing. Whoa.
Super sampling, anti-aliasing. You keep one up in it.
There we go. So you can keep going.
Don't even give me something. I've had issues with anti-aliasing today. I don't like it. It's not my best friend right now. But Alan, it's it's been really great talking to a light and eyes, because I think it's a craft which is both underappreciated and like misunderstood sometimes. So it's been really good to dive into some stuff. Now I ask every artist this question. I used to ask, what would you say to yourself, 10 years ago? But I'm more interested in looking towards the future. So in a year's time, like, what do you want to develop as an artist or as a person? Like, what things are you looking for this time next year?
I would say, sounds a bit cliche, just stop. I'm really harsh on myself. Like I just want to like this constant like drive. It's there. I think it's in all artists. Like next, just take a second, slow down, like just take a moment and have a look. Like I just want to just kind of be a bit nicer to myself. I know it sounds like a silly thing to say, but that's basically it. Like worked hard. You still have so much hopefully left of this game dev journey. It's not going to be done in a week. It is a marathon. Just good. Like that's the kind of stuff I think I would probably say to myself.
You know what? You say that's cliche. That's the first time I've heard someone be honest enough to say that. Because a lot of people think like, oh no, crack the whip, work harder, hustle, let's go. Like to say no, actually, I want to, like I said, be kind to yourself. Like that's not cliche because not enough people say that.
Okay, I thought many people did. Okay, it's cool.
No, yeah, most people are like, I need to work harder.
Like, yeah. Why am I doing a podcast? I should be doing something else.
Right, that's what everyone always says to me. They're like, oh, you work so hard, you've run a podcast. I'm like, I get to talk to an artist for an hour. This is great. This isn't work.
We could talk about ray tracing. I understand this.
And
hidden world.
Game dev memes. They're the best. But Alan,
I might start my own Twitter, just game dev meme.
Do it. Start after this. Actually, when we post this podcast up live, you can start a thread in the comments and we get everyone posting the game dev memes. I would love that. But I have to say, I really appreciate taking the time to have a conversation with me. This has been really fun. And you know what? I think it's actually one of the more useful ones for a lot of line artists getting into these things, because I think, like we spoke about previously, it's easy to just want to throw some pretty lights around, but to understand of the whys of what we do and, the pipeline and all these kind of things, I think it's been really useful for people. And I'm really, glad I had you on. Well, we'll say, everyone listening, please, like, share, follow, subscribe, all of these kind of things. The more people that get to hear the fantastic information that people like Ellen have to share, the better for everybody. But we're going to wrap up. I'll catch you guys next week. Ellen, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Bye.